interested with U.S. immigration? Can Donald Trump give you a green? Hey guys, before you file for your spouse, thank you for being with me, guys. Come on in, type in freedom now. We're going to talk about some breaking news. Yesterday, the House of Representatives passed a legislation that would deport more immigrants with a criminal record. Type in freedom now, say hello. And if you're going to be joining me, if you're watching this on another forum like Facebook, share this with your feed. I'm Latoya McBean Pompey, an immigration lawyer in New York, working with clients nationwide at McBean Law, where we believe that freedom is now. And we also cover a lot of breaking news and important updates from Capitol Hill and changes in with our laws that you need to be aware of. So if this is your type of content, give me some thumbs up and type in freedom now, and comment certainly after this live session. Go back, watch the replay, and comment on McBean Immigration TV. There's a lot that I'm going to unpack for you because there's a wave right now targeting individuals with a criminal record, and I'm going to show you exactly where this is coming from and where it is going. Friends, if you have not subscribed yet to this channel, subscribe now and hit that notification bell. If you'd like to get more from us at McBean Law, like our Friday immigration news summaries, our top 7 immigration news, subscribe to our newsletter at mcbeanlaw.com/subscribe. Now, let's get into this, okay? Let's get into this. Yesterday, the House passed H.R. 30, which is the Preventing Violence Against Women by Illegal Aliens Act, and it passed the House, guys, by a vote of 274 to 145. 61 Democrats supported this legislation, and this bill also passed it was introduced during the last Congress, and it also passed back then, and then it was reintroduced at the start of this year, and it passed very quickly. Now, what it focuses on primarily are offenses committed by undocumented individuals that are considered sex offenses. So here's what it says, okay? That it changes our Immigration and Nationality Act, or the INA, to make it mandatory for aliens who are convicted of or who have committed sex offenses, domestic violence, stalking, child abuse, or violation, or for folks who have violated an order of protection, okay, to be considered inadmissible and deportable. So you might be saying, I thought I've heard you say, McBean, that if I commit domestic violence, even if it's a misdemeanor, I could be deported. Yes, that is true, because that is currently on our books. Okay, that is currently the law. So there's, questions about whether this is really even necessary. In any event, it's here. Okay, and it's going to go on to the Senate for their consideration. There is our existing INA does require removing immigrants who have committed these serious crimes, okay, of sex offenses, domestic violence. But this actually allows it to be broader, right? Like when you're talking about those who have violated an order of protection, and in some cases these are misdemeanors, this is broader than what the existing laws already have in place. So this is a very serious one, because there are quite a bit of people who fall into these categories, and I'm going to show you the data momentarily. Now, this bill, one big criticism that folks have about this bill is that it will likely have a chilling effect. And here's what I mean by that. If let's say you're the undocumented spouse here. Let's say you're being abused by your undocumented spouse as well, your immigrant spouse, you're being abused. The issue is, well, if you fight back, um, how is that going to impact you, victim, right? The victim, as some of you know, sometimes fight back, right? And so if the victim fights back and is also arrested, which happens, well, can that victim be deported? And will the victim be willing to call the police and say, I've been abused, I'm being abused by my spouse? So there's this idea that this type of legislation will cause more harm than good, from the standpoint of the victim, who will be afraid to report the domestic violence and be afraid of being arrested herself. So so this is the bill. It was introduced by Representative Nancy Mace, a Republican out of South Carolina, and it's on its way now to the Senate. Now, the Laken Riley Act, just a quick update about Laken Riley Act. The Senate is moving forward. They're working on amendments. And as a matter of fact, on Wednesday, they passed an amendment to detain. Before I get into this amendment, let me back up. The Laken Riley Act, as I've spoken about, and I'll put a link to it here, my video about the Laken Riley Act of several days ago. It would require mandatory detention of individuals who have been arrested, charged, or even or convicted of a theft-related offense like burglary or shoplifting. And it passed the House with some Democrats supporting it, and now it's in the Senate, and they're going through amendments. And the Senate is making it a little bit, they're trying to expand it a little bit to make it applicable in other scenarios. So on Wednesday, they voted it passed, an amendment passed by 70 to 25 that would require ICE to detain any migrant lacking permanent legal status accused of assault on a law enforcement officer. And 20 Democrats voted with the Republicans who were present for this amendment. They're still going through the amendment process. There was another amendment that didn't pass. I'm not going to get into that detail here. But this is likely, a lot of folks are saying that this is likely to pass the Senate and signed into law by incoming President Trump. Now, that's you. I suspect that we will be hearing more and more about these types of bills or new laws that will crack down on immigrants who have a criminal record. And you might be saying, well, why is that? Well, it's because there are quite a bit of people with criminal records, as reported by ICE under the Biden administration. In September, let me just shift over. On September 25th, 2024, ICE sent a letter to Congress, to Congressman Tony Gonzalez, who is a Republican Hispanic congressman in Texas, who is on the House Appropriations Committee, and who has recently introduced the Remain in Mexico legislation that was just introduced a few days ago by him. This letter was sent by ICE to this congressman detailing what what ICE actually knows about immigrants who are here in the United States with a criminal record. Let's take a look at what ICE under the Biden administration shared with Congress in September. The letter says, your letter requests the number of non-citizens on ICE's docket convicted or charged with a crime. As of July 21st, 2024, there were 662,000 non-citizens with criminal histories on ICE's national docket, which includes those detained by ICE and on the agency's non-detained docket. Of those, 435,000 people are convicted criminals, and 226,000 have pending criminal charges. So, guys, they do know about these things, right? Please refer to the below chart, and we're going to go into the chart with the data momentarily. ICE goes on to say, it is important to note that detention determinations are made using a few guidelines. Let me just interject before I go further with this letter. A letter like this, guys, under the Biden administration, sent to Congress with this type of data, this type of letter was vetted by the folks in public affairs, the public affairs office at ICE, probably vetted by the White House, as well, to ensure that it's not really going to get them in too much trouble. This is how it works behind the scenes in Washington. This type of information is reviewed carefully and thoughtfully because it has political ramifications. The information that the White House shares with Congress is vetted internally. And so this is under the Biden administration, and they have a duty to respond to requests from Congress who have oversight. These committees have oversight of certain of the agencies, the federal agencies, and they could ask for this information. And so that's what happened here. Let's go back to the letter. Now, the letter says, firstly, ICE is bound by statutory requirements not to release certain non-citizens from ICE custody during the pendency of removal proceedings, and notes that most non-citizens who are convicted of homicide are typically not eligible for release by ICE under our Section 236C of the INA. So what they're saying is they are bound, they have a duty, guys, to not release certain people. And this is considered mandatory detention, which we've talked about before. The letter goes on to say that, however, in some circumstances, for those who are not subject to mandatory detention, ICE officers may use their discretion to release some people with certain conditions. And here are the things that ICE considers when they are making the decision about who to release. So if you are ever picked up by ICE or detained by ICE, these are the things, are the arguments that your lawyer will be making to ICE for them to use their discretion to release you rather than to keep you. And here's the information. ICE says that first of all, they make these determinations on a case-by-case basis, and they take into account the individual case circumstances, like your background, how long you've been here, those kinds of things, any other sensitive things about you, your family, maybe your family relationships, ties to the U.S. citizens, those kinds of things. But ICE says here, they primarily consider the risk of flight. Are you likely to leave the country? Are you likely to not leave the country, but are you likely to maybe run to another state and hide? They also consider whether you're a national security threat and also whether you're a threat to public safety. ICE also takes other factors into consideration, which includes whether the non-citizen has a serious medical condition. Why are they using the word non-citizen? Because they could pick up a green card holder, permanent resident as well, who could be subject to deportation. So they're saying non-citizen here. They're looking at whether you have a serious medical condition or whether you're the primary caregiver of minor children, which we've talked about before. You're the mother or the father, and you have your 5-year-old that you've got to go pick up from school, and no one else can take care of your child. Are you the primary caregiver? And they also consider other humanitarian considerations that we've talked about before. Now, let's go down into the numbers here. This is the docket, guys, of individuals who are in the United States that they know about, who have very serious criminal charges pending, and those who have already been convicted and it's over for you in the courts, but you're still here. So this is shocking. Obviously, you're going to be shocked by this, right? But I have to be fair and balanced, okay? I have to be fair and balanced and show you what's driving this wave of legislation that's targeting immigrants with a criminal background. So those who are non-detained versus those who are currently detained by ICE, you will see here that ICE currently detains or have in their cells right now 10,288 convicted criminals. Those who have they're detaining 4,700 people who have a pending criminal charge that has not been fully resolved yet. The non-detained docket, which means these are the individuals who are free and out there in the community right now. They know about 425,000 convicted criminals. They also know about 222,000 folks who have pending criminal charges that haven't been resolved yet. So um, here are some of the crimes the serious felonies that they know about. Okay, assaults, 62,000 people convicted, burglary, 14,000 convicted. Um, let's go down a little bit to drug crimes. They categorize it as dangerous drugs. 56,000 convicted folks, 13,000 who have current charges pending. Then let's go down to family offenses like domestic violence, 6,400 convicted folks, and then 3,800. I'm just, guys, I'm rounding up or down just to make it easier, okay? 3,800 on the family domestic violence, I believe, charges that are pending. Then they have, let's go down to fraudulent activities, 15,000 or almost 16,000 convicted criminals. Um, then you have homicide, which this is the number that you heard Trump say. He said it many times on the campaign trail. 13,000 who have committed homicide, who are not detained. They might even be on the bus with you or the train. We don't know, but they know about 13,000 who have been convicted by a judge of homicide, and they're still out there. That to me, that's not great. We all want to feel safe, regardless of how what you think about immigration. Public safety is critical because you want to remain alive, right? So this is the 13,000 that they know about. Then you have 51,000 who have immigration-related convictions. There are some immigration types of cases that result in a criminal conviction, like false claim to U.S. citizenship and some others, and marriage fraud. Then you have, let's see, larceny, 18,000 convicted, 12,000 that they know about with pending charges, and then robbery, 10,000 convicted. Sex offenses, 9,400 convicted. Sexual assault. See, they've broken out these sex offenses into different categories, but when you put them all together, it's actually a lot of people. Sexual assault, 15,000 convicted, and so that's the number. Oh, traffic related offenses, 77,000 convictions, and obviously they're probably including DUIs, DWIs, those kinds of offenses. Weapon offenses, 13,000 convicted. Then the letter goes on to say ICE under the Biden administration says that ICE is only funded through at 41,000 beds, guys. They don't have that much space, which is another reason why this whole idea of mass deportation it won't work. It won't work because they don't have the money and they don't have the space. Also, by the way, the Laken Riley bill would cost, I mean, billions. I don't have that number in front of me. I was looking at it yesterday. My apologies, but it's going to cost a whole lot of money if implemented. And ICE is saying they need more money for more beds. Now, they also say here regarding the number of declined detainers. What are they talking about? Declined detainers. Just a quick lesson here. A detainer, as you know, we talk about sanctuary cities, right? The local jails or local mayors say things like, if an alien comes to a jail, right? We bring them in. We're not going to inform ICE about this. We're not going to keep them there for a period of time for ICE to come and pick them up. We're not going to cooperate with ICE at all, right? And so you know that that's going on, and there are other people like Mayor Adams and other mayors and other sheriffs around the country who are saying, but we should cooperate when it comes on to like violent criminal aliens who come into the jail. And so there's this infighting going on locally right now. The detainer allows ICE to legally pick that person up from the jail and transition that person into Department of Homeland Security detention center. And so this is the number now that we're going to get into the information that is shared in this letter, which is public information, regarding the number of declined detainers since fiscal year 2021 from October 1st, 2020 through July, I'm sorry. So since fiscal year 2021, and then they say from October 1st, 2020 through July 22nd, 2024, ICE lifted 24,796 detainers. They withdrew. That's what with lifted means. During that period of time, they did not execute on these detainers that they placed locally with the locals. How about that for Friday tongue twister there? Of those, 23,591 were declined by state and local law enforcement agencies, sanctuary laws. 24,000, they lifted 24,000. Why? Because 23,000 of them couldn't be, executed fully because of sanctuary policies that said, we're not cooperating with you. And then ICE says here, 1,200 were lifted due to insufficient notice to ICE. They didn't have enough time to pick these people up, and they're only given like 48 hours to pick them up. So they didn't have enough time to make it happen. And then they go on to say here that additionally, from October 1st, 2020 through July 22nd, 2024, ERO, ICE, issued 2,897 detainers that were declined by state and local law enforcement agencies and were subject to, and were the subject, and where the subject of the detainer had a subsequent apprehension by ERO. I wanted to show you the footnote about them lifting the detainers. They say here that ICE may lift a detainer at any time after it has been issued. The lifting of a detainer is based upon the totality of the case, and ICE may lodge another detainer at a later date if appropriate. The circumstances under which ICE may lift a detainer are unlimited. However, these circumstances may include, but are not limited to, criminal convictions and pending criminal charges. The non-citizen has lawful status to remain or reside in the United States, or health-related concerns. These are the reasons why they would potentially lift or withdraw their detainer. So guys, this is the context. I want to show you like the backdrop. This is what's going on behind the scenes that's driving the wave of legislation, that that we're seeing. And obviously, this is not new information to Congress because Congress has that oversight capability, and they've been seeing these numbers over the years. And then the Republicans introduce these bills, but they often don't go anywhere. Well, now they're going somewhere, right? Now they're actually going somewhere because there's an incoming attorney general who is highly motivated on the public safety side, and they're just going to do whatever Trump tells them to do. Trump is coming in, and they want to really crack down on the criminal aliens, right? And so now Congress is doing their part. They're saying, oh, finally, I get my bill. My bill can potentially be signed into law. So that's what you're going to be hearing a little bit more of, okay? That's what's going on these days. So guys, I hope that you found this information helpful. Yesterday, Congress The House of Representatives passed the H.R. 30, Preventing Violence Against Women by Illegal Aliens Act, which would make it mandatory for aliens convicted of or who have committed sex offenses, domestic violence, stalking, child abuse, or violations of protection orders to be considered both inadmissible and deportable. If you're outside of the United States and you have anything like this on your record, you're considered inadmissible. If you're here in the US and this is on your record, you're considered deportable. They can deport you for these types of offenses. All right. Now, with that being said, I'm going to just take a few questions before I head out. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Okay. And my colleague also has been moderating for us in the comments. Thank you. Good to see you. Freedom now, freedom now, freedom now. This information that I'm sharing, of course, is to educate you so that you're in, you know what's going on, right? Um, Someone says that if you're a good person, you have nothing to fear. Exactly, John. Stay out of trouble, right? Stay out of trouble. Um, Someone says, doesn't Congress know that this will impact the economy? Okay. As far as the economy is concerned, obviously we know that there's going to be a deep impact if they do the workplace raids. Certainly, I think those will be the biggest impact that we will see, right? If they're rounding up large numbers of individuals who are out there in the agricultural fields doing the work that that all of us Americans really value. That's where and then you go and you try to find strawberries at the supermarket and you're wondering, where do you go for strawberries now? Whole Foods, right? Like, no, don't. You're right, and you don't want to spend an arm and a leg, but it's going to have a real impact, guys. Also, I did mention in my stories on Instagram this week, I only shared it on Instagram that in New York City, 100 restaurant workers lost their jobs just recently because on December 27th, they received a text from their supervisor, and I shared that text in my stories that said, tomorrow, show up to work with your proper IDs and fill out this I-9 form because we've got to do another onboarding. And 100 people vanished. 100 workers, custodial and restaurant folks in the kitchen vanished overnight. They were given only 10 days to do this, and they couldn't do it. Okay, so let's see. Um, you should follow the law. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, am I at risk of being deported even though I've overstayed my visa? The intent certainly is to target individuals, as I've been talking about, who have a removal order, number one. Number two, who have a criminal record, which is why they're going so hard right now on the criminal side. And then number three, those who recently came into the United States through the various parole programs that Biden had in place, including that CB1 app. Those people who came in through that process, and also those who came in through the parole process, because based on the Trump administration's understanding of things, they thought all of that was illegal. They just didn't see it as a proper way for folks to enter into the United States. So they're at risk. They're vulnerable as well. And there is a wave. Well, not a wave. I don't know. I read one story. I don't know if it's a wave yet, quite frankly. Newsweek, and we're sharing this today in our newsletter. Newsweek has this article out there that people are now self-deporting. There's people are trying to leave because the anxiety level is too high. And so particularly those who came in under the CB1 app, some folks are self-deporting. That's what Newsweek is sharing. So yeah, let's see, what other questions do you guys have? Yes, legal immigrants have nothing to worry about. unless you're a green card holder and you've committed a crime, you beat your wife, and if you beat your wife or your children, right, domestic violence involve crime and crimes involving children, child endangerment, spanking them too hard, right? It's that's a problem that could get you deported quite easily as well. Let's see. Um, criminals. Isn't that criminals that was released? Thanks for your input. I'm not sure what that means. Guys, I'm going to jump off. I have got to get to the office. We have a lot going on, of course, as you can imagine, but I wanted to share this with you. Watch the replay if you're now joining. I see a lot of people are watching. Thank you so much for being with me today. Yesterday, the House passed the Preventing Violence Against Women by Illegal Aliens Act, and it passed by a big number, 274 to 145, with 61 Democrats joining. It's over at the Senate. Most likely, they're going to, you know, they're going to consider this, and Trump will. I think they're lining up some legislation for Trump to be able to sign right away. And they're going, in this particular one, is going after individuals convicted of or who have committed sex offenses, domestic violence, stalking, child abuse, or violating your protection order. It makes you deportable and inadmissible. So, guys, of course, stay out of trouble. But we just saw the data. Watch this again because I shared the data. The data, it's a lot. I have to. I thought, whoa, this is a lot, right? It's a big number, right? Almost it's 600 and something thousand. So that with that kind of data that's so convincing, it gives a lot of ammunition for legislators to really push these different bills and really try to target these various categories. And you might be saying, "Oh my God, there are so many people out there that ICE knows about, and they haven't detained. They haven't detained them because they don't have the resources and the space to detain the ones who they know about." Okay, they know about these things, guys. The data is being shared with them, so they know about these convictions. They're counting, they know, they're keeping track of it, but they didn't show up at these individuals' houses, knocking, but they know about them. They're out there on the list and they're counting them, but they just cannot make a move towards detaining them because where are they going to place them? They only have a small number of beds. Again, mass deportation has the biggest infrastructure problem um, currently regarding staffing and beds. Guys, thanks so much. Subscribe to this channel. Thanks so much for being with me live. I will be back before you guys on Monday to answer your immigration questions, Q&A. Oh, yeah, Monday's Martin Luther King Day and Inauguration Day. So, so I will be live, but it will not be the traditional Monday Q&A. It is Inauguration Day. It is 100 executive orders being signed day. So I will be back before you guys on Monday and a lot after that. I'll be in front of you a lot breaking down these executive orders that Trump is going to be signing on Monday, and I've shock and awe. We'll see whether it really is shock and awe. I'll be with you. I'm with you on this journey. Okay. So stay tuned. I'm going to rest up this weekend because next week is going to be like, it's going to be intense for us, my team, marketing team, and myself. So, guys, thank you so much for your support. Stay plugged in, comment below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.